The golden light of late afternoon slid through the wide windows of the small apartment in Queens, touching the edge of the wheelchair where little Claire sat, clutching her stuffed bear. Her legs were still, wrapped in soft blue leggings, and her eyes lifted slowly toward the sharply dressed man kneeling in front of her. Michael Harrington, known across New York as a billionaire CEO who never slowed down for anyone, was speaking to her in a quiet, nearly trembling voice. Behind them, near the hallway, Claire's mother, Emily, stood with one hand over her mouth, tears gathering as she watched her daughter speak for herself with a courage she herself felt she'd lost long ago. Michael had come into their lives by accident, or fate, but nothing about this moment felt accidental. Something was breaking open inside him while Claire's words hovered in the room like a fragile truth waiting to land. This would soon become an emotional story, a life-changing story, about second chances, hidden pain, and a shocking truth that connected them far more deeply than any of them knew. Before we begin this emotional story, tell us in the comments from which city you are watching, and don't forget to leave your like to keep following us. Michael had arrived expecting a short, polite conversation, something symbolic, something charitable, a gesture he could sign off on before returning to his world of polished boardrooms and never-ending pressure. But the moment Claire looked at him, something in her gaze pierced through the glossy armor he'd spent years building. The apartment smelled of lavender and laundry detergent. A small TV murmured quietly in the background, its sound almost swallowed by the heavy tension that filled the space. Michael shifted slightly, noticing how Claire's tiny fingers curled tightly around the stuffed bear, as though it were the only anchor in a world that had moved too fast, too painfully. Emily remained frozen near the doorway, her eyes red from exhaustion. She was a single mother, and though she tried to hide it, her shoulders betrayed a lifetime of carrying too much alone. "So, Claire," Michael said softly, his voice uncharacteristically unsure, "your mother told me you wanted to meet me before I made any decisions." Claire looked at her lap, then back at him, her voice so soft that he leaned in to hear. "People think I'm scared of being adopted, but I'm not." She hesitated. "I'm scared that Mom will be left alone." Emily gasped quietly, pressing her hand harder against her mouth as tears spilled over. Michael blinked, taken off guard. "Why would she be alone?" Claire swallowed. "Because I know you want to help me, and I know I might get a better life with you, but Mom, she always gives everything to me, and sometimes I see her crying when she thinks I'm asleep. She's tired, and she's hurting. She needs someone too." Her eyes lifted again, clearer, braver than any child should have to be. "Before adopting the wheelchair girl," Claire whispered, "you should know. My mother needs you more than I do." Michael's breath caught. It wasn't a plea, it wasn't manipulation. It was truth, raw, unfiltered, spoken by a child who understood emotional burdens far beyond her years. And just as the words settled into him, something old and familiar stirred, a memory he had spent years burying beneath Deal's wealth and relentless work. Emily turned away to hide her shaking, unaware that this single moment had opened the past Michael spent decades running from. A knock sounded from the front door, cutting the silence like a blade. Emily quickly wiped her tears and hurried toward the door. Michael stood, instinctively protective, though he didn't know why. Claire watched both adults with wide, steady eyes. Emily opened the door to reveal a thin man with a clipboard, Mr. Hanley, the social worker assigned to Claire's case. His expression was polite, but carried the bureaucratic coldness of someone who'd seen too many families fall apart. "Good evening," he said. "I was in the area and thought I'd check how the meeting was going." He glanced around the room, pausing briefly on Michael, as though evaluating him like an asset file. Michael bristled internally. He was used to being evaluated in financial terms, not in terms of human capacity. "It's going fine," Emily answered quietly. "They're talking." Hanley turned his gaze to Michael. "Mr. Harrington, the adoption panel is very encouraged by your interest. Given your resources and lifestyle, Claire would have access to treatments and opportunities she can't get here." Emily flinched as though struck. Claire's eyes lowered, her fingers tightening around the bear. Michael's jaw tightened. The phrasing felt wrong, like Claire was a project, not a child. He stepped slightly toward the social worker. "She's not a product," he said, the steel in his voice surprising even him. Hanley blinked, caught off guard. Of course not. But we must consider what's best for her future. Michael glanced back at Claire. She wasn't scared, she was waiting to see if he'd hear what she had told him. Claire lifted her head, meeting his gaze with a quiet plea. See her, not just me. Michael felt something shift inside him, an old dormant truth waking. A life he once imagined before grief and work swallowed him. Before he could speak, Hanley cleared his throat. We'll need a preliminary decision soon, Mr. Harrington. Children in Claire's condition. Time matters. Emily closed her eyes, steadying herself. Claire blinked away the tears forming. Michael understood the pressure. He recognized the ultimatum wrapped in kindness. It was the language of deals. Only this time, the stakes weren't business. He looked between mother and daughter. I'm not making any decisions tonight, he said firmly. Not without understanding everything. Hanley seemed displeased but nodded. Very well. I'll be in touch. As the door closed, Emily's knees momentarily weakened. Michael took a step toward her, but she straightened quickly, not wanting to show more vulnerability. Claire watched them both, and something deep inside her seemed to brace for a truth neither adult had yet spoken. Michael took a seat on the couch, and Emily, after a hesitant pause, sat across from him. Claire rolled her wheelchair slightly closer, her hands resting in her lap. The room grew quieter, the hum of the TV fading as if the world had slowed around them. Emily, Michael began carefully, I know this is overwhelming. I didn't intend to cause any distress. Emily shook her head, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. It's not your fault, I never expected Claire to say something like that. She's so strong sometimes it scares me. Claire responded with a small, almost apologetic smile. Michael leaned forward. She sees more than most adults do. That kind of perception doesn't come without pain. Emily exhaled deeply, her voice trembling. Claire hasn't walked since the accident. I've been working 2 jobs, barely sleeping, trying to keep us afloat. When they told me someone like you wanted to meet her, I thought, maybe this was the miracle I couldn't give her. Claire lowered her eyes, uncomfortable with being spoken about as if she weren't there. Michael's gaze softened. Wanting the best for your child doesn't make you less enough. Emily swallowed hard. No one had said something like that to her in years. Claire looked between them. Mom tries to hide her sadness, but I hear her at night. She cries in the bathroom because she thinks the fan hides the sound. Emily's cheeks flushed as tears filled her eyes. Claire, sweetheart? Michael felt his chest tighten. He had lived that sound, the quiet crying behind closed doors. His own mother had done the same after his younger sister died. The memory flashed like a knife. Hospital lights, a broken bike, a promise he couldn't keep. He cleared his throat. Emily, what exactly happened the night of the accident? Her eyes widened, and for a moment she froze. But Claire's hand reached out and touched hers, anchoring her. Emily finally spoke, her voice brittle. We were walking home from the community center. A car drifted across the lane. The police said the driver was drunk. I pushed Claire out of the way, but I wasn't fast enough. Michael closed his eyes briefly. He'd funded campaigns against drunk driving for years, ironically as a way to quiet his own guilt. Emily looked down, her shoulders trembling. Since then, every decision I make feels like failure. Michael slowly stood, drawn by an impulse he didn't fully understand. You didn't fail her. Emily lifted her eyes toward him, wet, vulnerable, unconvinced. Claire watched, knowing this was only the beginning of a truth deeper than any of them yet understood. Michael walked toward the window, needing a moment to steady himself. Who he was in public, a confident billionaire CEO, felt miles away from the man standing silently in this small apartment. The skyline of New York stretched beyond the glass, glittering and cold. He pressed his palm lightly against the window frame as Emily's quiet breaths filled the silence behind him. Claire finally spoke. Mr. Michael, why did you want to meet me? He turned slowly, realizing the child had asked a question no one had yet dared voice. He approached her, kneeling again so their eyes matched. Because I read your file. He hesitated. And something about your story felt familiar. Emily frowned, confused. Familiar how? Michael exhaled, the truth pushing its way forward. When I was 12, my little sister, She had a condition that affected her mobility. She used a wheelchair. And she was the bravest person I knew. Claire blinked, surprised. Emily covered her mouth softly, the empathy immediate. Michael looked down briefly, gathering himself. I used to sit on the floor beside her chair, just like this, and she'd tell me how she hated when adults made decisions around her, not with her. He looked up again. When I saw Claire's file, it was like I saw a piece of her again. Emily's expression softened, understanding blooming slowly. Claire's voice was gentle. What happened to her? Michael's jaw tightened. He didn't speak for a long moment. She passed away when I was 16. Complications from surgery. The room fell still. Emily felt her heart ache, not just for the child her daughter had become, but for the boy Michael once was. Michael continued, voice low. After that I buried myself in work. Achievements, titles, money. Being a successful man felt easier than feeling anything at all. Claire nodded slowly, like someone who knew what loneliness felt like, even if hers came from different wounds. Emily whispered, "And now you want to adopt Claire because she reminds you of your sister." Michael froze. That wasn't his intention, but he couldn't deny the echo. "I want to help," he said honestly, "but I don't want to repeat old mistakes or fill old holes." Claire's lips tightened. "I don't want to be a replacement." Her voice wasn't angry, it was simply true. Michael felt something inside him break open again. He reached out, gently placing his hand over hers. "You're not," he whispered. "You're yourself, and that's why I'm here." Emily watched them, her own heart balancing on a fragile edge between fear and possibility. Emily stood and walked to the kitchen counter, pretending to tidy something so she wouldn't collapse under the emotional weight pressing against her. Michael watched her carefully. He sensed strength wrapped around exhaustion, the kind only a single mother learned to carry. Claire adjusted herself in her wheelchair, clearing her throat. "Mr. Michael, people tell me you're a really rich man." Emily turned sharply. "Claire." Michael smiled faintly. "It's okay. Yes, I have money." Claire nodded, studying him like she was trying to see beyond the tailored suit. "Does being rich make you lonely?" The question struck him harder than the personal ones before. Emily whispered, "Claire," again embarrassed, but Michael shook his head. "It's a fair question." He took a slow breath. "Sometimes, yes. Not because of the money, but because people stop seeing you. They see what you can give them, not who you are." Claire nodded thoughtfully. "Mom doesn't want anything from anyone. She just wants me to be okay." Emily's eyes filled again, her shoulders shaking slightly. Michael turned gently toward her. "Emily, when was the last time someone helped you?" She laughed under her breath, a hollow sound. "Help? I don't expect that. I just do what I need to." Claire turned to him suddenly. "That's why I said what I said earlier. She needs help more than I do." Michael sat back, absorbing that truth. It wasn't a child's perspective. It was wisdom forged by watching her mother break quietly for years. Emily finally turned from the counter, tears openly falling. "Claire, sweetheart, don't say things like that. I'm fine." "You're not," Claire said softly. "And that's okay." Michael felt an ache in his chest. He wished someone had told his mother that. He stepped closer to Emily. "Let me ask something, not as a billionaire CEO, as a man who understands loss." Emily looked up, startled by the shift in his tone. "What do you fear most?" he asked. She hesitated. The truth hovered at the edge of her lips like a secret begging to be released. Finally, she whispered, "Losing her, or choosing wrong and having her taken from me." Claire inhaled sharply, her eyes stinging. Michael reached for a chair and sat across from Emily, leveling himself. "No one is taking her tonight, not me. Not the system, not anyone." Emily covered her face, shoulders trembling. Claire reached out her small hand. "Mum, can we just tell him everything? Maybe he can understand." Emily nodded slowly, bracing herself for a confession years overdue. Emily sat down beside Claire, clutching her daughter's hand as if grounding herself. Michael remained perfectly still, aware something significant was coming, something that had shaped both mother and daughter long before he entered their home. Emily inhaled shakily. "Claire's father left when she was 3. After the accident, he didn't visit once, not even a phone call. Social services helped for a time, but when the bills piled up, they started talking about long-term placement. Michael's expression hardened, not toward Emily, but toward a world that punished the vulnerable. Emily continued. They said a rich family could give her a better chance, and maybe they can, but every time I imagine her leaving this apartment, leaving me, it's like losing her twice. Claire squeezed her mother's fingers. Michael nodded slowly. You fought for her alone. Emily let out a trembling breath. And I'm so tired, Michael. Not of her. Never of her. She wiped her eyes. I'm tired of pretending I can do everything, of pretending I'm not scared every single day. Michael leaned forward gently. You shouldn't have to pretend. Emily looked down, ashamed. Mothers don't get to break. Michael shook his head. They do. They just learn to break in private. Claire looked at him curiously. Your mom did that too? His throat tightened. Yes. Emily studied him, realizing for the first time that beneath the wealth and power stood a man carrying his own fractures, a man who understood silent suffering. Claire shifted in her wheelchair. Mr. Michael, if you adopted me, would Mom be alone? Michael looked at both of them carefully. What if adoption isn't the only way to help? Emily frowned. What do you mean? He hesitated, choosing his words. What if I helped with her treatments, the physical therapy, the medical equipment, all of it, without taking her away from you? Emily stared at him, stunned. But why would you do that? Michael's voice softened. Because I know what it's like to love someone who depends on you, and I know what it's like to lose them. If I can prevent your pain without taking Claire, isn't that worth more than any legal arrangement? Emily's lips parted, but no words came. Claire's eyes filled. So I can stay with Mom? Michael nodded gently. If that's what you want. Claire let out a breath she'd been holding for years. Emily covered her mouth again, crying silently, but this time the tears weren't from fear. They were from hope. The room felt lighter, like someone had cracked a window in a house long sealed by fear. Emily wiped her face, trying to gather herself. Claire rolled her chair slightly closer to Michael. Mr. Michael, she said softly. If you help us, that won't people talk? Won't they say you're just doing charity? He smiled faintly. Let them talk. People always talk when they don't understand kindness. Emily whispered, This is more than kindness. He met her eyes. It's a second chance. For all of us. Claire tilted her head. For you too? Michael leaned back, exhaling. Yes, I've spent years building a life that looked strong from the outside. But inside, there's been a lot I haven't faced. My sister, my parents. The loneliness. Emily studied him, seeing the man, not the billionaire. You don't have family? Not anymore, he said quietly. Not in the way that matters. Claire reached out, touching his hand. We could be your family too. Michael blinked back the emotion rising in his chest. Claire said it like a simple truth. No expectation, no demand. Just a bridge offered. But before he could respond, Emily spoke gently. We can't offer you anything. Michael turned to her. You've already offered me something I haven't had in years. Emily frowned. What? He smiled sadly. A reason to feel. The words lingered in the room like soft light. Emily looked away, overwhelmed. Claire wiped her eyes. Michael stood and paced the room slowly, thinking. If I support Claire's treatment, if I help stabilize things for you both, it needs to be done right, legal, transparent, independent of the adoption system. Emily straightened, fear flickering. Are you saying contracts, agreements, papers? Michael shook his head. No, I'm saying you don't owe me anything. No obligations, no strings, just partnership. Emily felt a weight lift, but another weight appeared. The fear of believing him. Claire whispered, Mom, he's telling the truth. Emily's voice broke. I want to believe him. Michael stepped close, kneeling slightly to meet her gaze. Then let me prove it. Just then, Claire's wheelchair beeped softly, the low battery alert. Emily sighed, embarrassed. It barely holds charge anymore. Michael smiled gently. Then let's start there. For the first time in months, Emily let herself imagine something other than survival. 2 weeks later, Life looked different, still hard, still imperfect, but undeniably shifting. Michael had arranged for Claire to receive a new wheelchair, custom fit, lightweight, and easier for her to maneuver. Emily watched her daughter glide across the apartment with a freedom she hadn't seen since before the accident. Claire laughed, really laughed, as the wheels turned smoothly under her hands. Emily pressed her fingers to her lips, overwhelmed. Michael stood by the window, trying not to show how deeply he was moved. "You like it?" he asked. Claire spun carefully. "I love it." Emily's eyes shimmered. "How did you arrange this so fast?" Michael shrugged lightly. "It's how you learn things when you run a company. Efficiency is one of them." Emily approached him slowly. "Michael, this is more than help. This is life-changing." He shook his head. "Claire is life-changing." Claire rolled toward them, looking up. "Are you going to visit us every week?" Michael smiled. "As long as you want me to." Emily sat on the couch, the exhaustion in her face replaced slowly by something softer, hope mixed with disbelief. "I still don't understand why you're doing all this." Michael took a breath. "Because I know what it's like to lose someone you love, and I know what it's like to wish someone had stepped in sooner." Emily held his gaze. "Michael, we're not your responsibility." "No," he agreed. "You're not." He paused, his voice lowering. "You're my choice." Emily's breath caught. Claire smiled knowingly. Michael continued carefully. "Helping you doesn't fix my past, but it honors it, and maybe it builds something new." Emily looked down, her heart pounding. Claire spoke softly. "Mom, can he stay for dinner?" Emily smiled through her tears. "Yes, of course." Michael's expression softened, touched by the simplicity of the invitation. As they gathered in the small kitchen, Emily noticed how naturally Michael moved among them, reaching for plates, laughing at Claire's jokes, listening deeply. The billionaire CEO was gone. What remained was a man rediscovering himself. Emily served the meal, hands trembling, not from fear but from the unfamiliar feeling of not being alone. Claire looked between them, hope glowing. For the first time since the accident, their apartment felt warm again. Months later, the small apartment in Queens had transformed, not by wealth but by presence. Claire's therapy improved, Emily's strength returned, Michael's loneliness softened into connection. They met weekly at the community center, where Michael quietly funded new accessibility upgrades without ever announcing his name. Claire wheeled through the halls with new confidence, often racing Michael, who pretended to lose every time. Emily found a part-time job at a non-profit Michael supported, not as charity, but because he saw her talent and resilience. Together, without papers, without contracts, they built something resembling family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real. One evening, as Claire drew a picture of the three of them beside her wheelchair, she handed it to Michael shyly. "This is us," she said. Michael looked at the drawing, emotion welling. Emily touched his arm gently. "You gave us hope," she whispered. He shook his head softly. "You gave me purpose." And in that quiet living room framed by golden light once again, each of them felt the same truth. Some families aren't found by blood or by law. They are formed by kindness, forgiveness, and second chances. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heart-touching story. Tell us in the comments which moment touched you the most. Subscribe and turn on the bell to receive more stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like if you believe in the invisible strength of kindness, dignity, and family. And thank you for being part of this community that believes in stories with soul.